End of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to jump on the board and go through Toshiba Tec's first half FY 2023. You know, there's been some interesting things going on between Toshiba Tec and the conglomerate Toshiba, now being taken over by JIP, the investment group. So Toshiba really doesn't exist anymore as a conglomerate. It's now JIP, an investment group. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a tender offer in play between Toshiba Tec and the Toshiba conglomerate, now JIP. The tender offer has materialized, and now Toshiba Tec has a little bit more of their equity. They still don't have controlling equity. In other words, JIP is still the parent company. But at the end of the day, I'm hopeful that Toshiba Tec could get away from JIP, and sooner rather than later is my hope. But let's start right there, ladies and gentlemen. There was a tender offer in play. Before the tender offer, Toshiba, the conglomerate, now JIP, owned 52.08% of Toshiba Tec. Tender offer's finished. Now, Toshiba, conglomerate, now JIP, owns 50.08%. Just a little bit under 1% is giving them control of that company. They're still the parent company of Toshiba Tec. Toshiba Tec, do everything you can to get away from JIP. The quicker the better, as far as I'm concerned. Let's look at some numbers. If you look at Toshiba Tec as both units together for the first half, revenue was $1,778 million. Operating profit of $39.4 million, or 2.3%. If you break them apart, we got the Workplace Solutions Business Group. Revenue for the 6 months was $778.4 million. Operating profit, $33.4 million, 4.3%. Congratulations to the Workplace Solutions Business Group. 4.3% operating profit for the first half. If you look at the Retail Solutions Business Group, $1 billion in revenue for the first half. Operating profit is $6 million, 0%, so they're barely above the line when you're comparing to the top line revenue of $1 billion. And ladies and gentlemen, that Retail Solutions Business Group has been struggling for a few quarters. I got a solution, if Toshiba Tec will pay attention. Let's talk about where this revenue's coming from around the world, because that's part of my solution. If you look at that Workplace Business Group, those friends of mine that sell services, supply print equipment, that's where they live, in that Workplace Solutions Business Group. In the Americas, $336.4 million of the $778.4 million is coming from Americas. It's a big chunk. It's over 50% of the revenue. If you look at what's going on domestically in Japan regarding print equipment, MFPs, it's $50.8 million for 6 months. It's barely existing. But if you look at that Retail Solutions Business Group, it's interesting. And that's that cashierless register, the technologies around the smart shopping cart. They got some really cool technologies, and it's really around the retail sector. And they're doing some really, really cool things with data. I'm going to talk about that in today's episode. But if you look in the Japanese marketplace, the domestic marketplace, $564.4 million of the $1 billion in revenue is coming from Japan. In the Americas, that Retail Business Solutions Group is only due at $273.5 million. Here's my solution. Bring the two units together. Toshiba Tec, bring these two units together and figure out how these sales teams can come together as one. There's a lot of people inside the Americas that are selling your print equipment that have great relationships with huge retail organizations, and they could be out there selling those Retail Solutions business. The products. Ladies and gentlemen, they'd love to be able to sell those products, and I believe they do really well with them. I also believe that the technologies and the software and the way you're using data, collecting data and monetizing data inside that Retail Solutions Business Group could be transferable. Some of that innovation, some of that knowledge would be awesome inside that Workplace Solutions Business Group. I think Toshiba Tec could disrupt a few things. But the only way they're going to disrupt a few things is disrupt themselves. And they need to bring these two units together. It's time to do it. It's time to do it. If you look at Ricoh, and I want to compare Ricoh because we all know that Ricoh did this joint venture with Toshiba Tec, and it's strictly around manufacturing hardware. It has nothing to do with Ricoh buying Toshiba Tec and all of that. So forget about all of that. The joint venture was all about hardware, and that's a good thing for Toshiba Tec because they'll be able to cut a lot of cost in manufacturing print equipment. Let Ricoh do all of that. Just take it out in the marketplace and deliver it. But if you look at Ricoh, for the first half of their year, they did that $7.3 billion in revenue. They had $128.7 million operating profit at 1.8%. If you look at Toshiba Tec as one big company together, it's at 2.3%, and that's kind of why I want to show that. Because, you know, Toshiba Tec, even though 2.3% is nothing to write home about, one of their divisions, the one that did $1 billion, okay, over 30% more revenue than the Workplace Solutions Group, is kind of weighting them down. And I believe the reason they're weighting them down is because they're not selling enough of their products. And I believe if the two units came together, they'd sell more of their products, and I don't think it would affect the sales of the print business. It would only affect the infrastructure of the company and how they put it together. And there would be some disruptions. But at the end of the day, if you can't disrupt yourself, how in the world are you going to disrupt the marketplace? I wanted to share this slide with you, and this is the operating profit for Ricoh, and I went through all the quarters for 2022 and for 2023. And you can see that Ricoh doesn't hit any big home runs. I mean, the highest quarter they had was 6.5%, and then like Ricoh normally does, they just kind of drop off the cliff. I think they get so excited when they get over 5%, they forget what they're doing. But they're at 1.9% for the first quarter of FY 2023, and they're at 1.6% for the second. You know, we're looking over here at Toshiba. Everything together is at 3.3 for the second. They were at 1.1 for the first. But I truly believe if these two organizations, that workplace business and the retail group, come together, I think they could kill it. I think they would sell more of that retail solutions business stuff, and quite honestly, they could probably sell more print stuff in the domestic marketplace as well. I don't know why Toshiba Tec doesn't do this. I'm going to continue to argue for it because I just think it makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to look at some stuff on the consolidated financials. Let's look at this a little bit. Toshiba's cost of sales, 60%. Gross profits, 40%. Their selling and administrative expenses are 37%. If you look at Ricoh, the cost of sales is 65.3%. Their gross profits, 34.7%. And their cost of, or their selling and general administration expenses are 33.4%. So it's not like Ricoh's knocking it out of the park and doing so much better than Toshiba or any of the other players in the market as far as that goes. But at the end of the day, I really believe that all of these players, Toshiba, Ricoh, all of them, have got to figure out how to lower their cost of sales. Especially if you're going to be into the services business, and I've already talked about that when I did Ricoh's financials. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what's frustrating to me is that whether it's Toshiba or Ricoh or all of them, they do these different segmented businesses, but they just lump it all together on the financials. It would be nice to know what the cost of sales is strictly inside that retail business group, all on its own. What's their selling expenses? All on their own. Because at the end of the day, when you lump it all together, you can really be hiding and distracting from things that need to be fixed or disciplines that need to be changed. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to really read what Toshiba Tec's doing, and I strongly urge those friends of mine that are in the print business to go to the Toshiba Tec website and check this stuff out. Look at that retail business group. I'm telling you, you'll get excited about what they're doing, and maybe you can help me put pressure on Toshiba Tec to bring that stuff together. Because I'm convinced that some of my dealer friends have really good relationships with retail outlets that could easily buy this product. But they're doing these subscriptions on the Smart Receipt. They're doing some amazing things. I mean, Toshiba Tec has figured out how to monetize data around retail and receipts around retail in ways that are pretty strong. There's a lot of people that want the access to the customer that has the receipt. So just let your imagination brew a little bit. But they're doing some interesting things with this data. They have really smart data teams in place. And I'm convinced if these two units were to come together, they would be able to capitalize on those synergies around data. And how can we change the way data is being used in the print sector? How can we monetize that a little bit different? Because, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, what Toshiba Tec is doing on that retail solutions side is monetizing the data. And they're monetizing it in a whole lot of different ways. That's why you really got to go read about it and get educated about it. It's really cool stuff. You know, they established this innovation and incubation hub in Dallas, Texas. Toshiba, I want to go to this innovation hub. I want to see that. I want to check that out. So let's make that happen. But ladies and gentlemen, when you think about data and what Toshiba Tec is doing with data, I just think there's a lot of opportunity to capitalize if both business units come together. Toshiba, now's the time to do it. And like I just said earlier, if you can't disrupt yourself, you're never going to be able to disrupt the marketplace. Your parent company, Toshiba, back in Japan, now being taken over by JIP, they got enough to worry about. Figure out the right partner to bring in to get that equity away from the Toshiba conglomerate, now JIP. And when I say bring in the right partner, I'm not talking about another OEM in the print business. Let's get creative. Let's look for the right partner, the right software application that makes sense, the right data company that makes sense. Because I'm convinced that if Toshiba could bring both units together, they could definitely disrupt the marketplace, they could increase their operating profit, and they could change the game in the retail space and in the print space. And everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.